Formula One is headed in a brand new direction, and it seems like this one won't be accepted very well by the fans and the drivers. Stefano Domenicali pushes for reverse grids, more sprint races, and shorter race events because, as he said, the young audience might find it a bit boring to watch 1.5 hours of racing. But how will these proposals be accepted by the drivers? And is this clear proof that phone is becoming more about the money and less about the racing? Formula One's popularity has skyrocketed in the past couple of years, but the levels it has reached now could only have been dreamt about just a few years ago. Nevertheless, the expansion comes with its own price. You have to modify the sport towards the liking of the newer audience that bolstered you to where you are right now. And that's the view of Stefano Domenicali as well. Changes are needed, and the drivers as well as the team principals need to look at them in a more open-minded fashion. According to the president of Phone, there are certain rules that can be modified as they are right now. Starting with the reverse grids, he believes that in Formula 2 the entertainment lies behind the fact that there is a race in which the drivers are all mixed up and the one on pole starts 10, which would give him a lot of motivation to push through the grid. It would eventually lead to more overtaking and more anticipated racing. Even though drivers like Russell and Verstappen clearly labelled this idea as foolish, to say the least. When talking about the changes, Domenicali said, "We've discussed these changes in the past, but in the coming months, we'll need to have the courage to push the discussion forward. I've even heard from several drivers who proposed it. Initially, they were all against it, but at the last meeting, many of them said, 'Why don't we try?' This format has been around in F2 and F3 for decades, but I believe it's an area where there's no right or wrong position. All opinions count. We'll make our assessments together with the FIA. We'll have to interpret the evolving trend as best we can, that is for sure." So, it's interesting that Domenicali mentioned the change in belief from the drivers. I do believe certain individuals have agreed to try this format, but it could be motivated by an array of reasons. For starters, if you already know the race winner candidates will be 2 or 3 drivers on pure merit, if nothing extraordinary happens at the top, then reverse grids will shake up the competition as we know it. However, in Formula 2, the reverse grids are only for the sprint races. For the main race, the pole position stands as it is from the session on Friday. I'm mentioning this here because of one very important reason. Domenicali wants to implement changes in the number of sprint races as well. According to him, the sprint races are adding a lot to the excitement, and the majority of the fans are watching because of it. So why not follow the MotoGP format and have as many sprint races as possible? To say that 24 sprint races in a season is the goal is a bit of a far-fetched scenario, but Stefano did ask once why this should be considered an impossible mission heading towards the future. It's a sport that's prone to changes, but how would the drivers react to it? When talking about the increasing number of sprint races, Domenicali said, "There's a topic on the table concerning the format we'll use in the coming years, starting with sprint weekends. We need to understand whether to increase them, how to increase them, and whether to use different formats. We have several discussions to have with the teams to decide the direction. I have to say that aside from some older, die-hard fans, everyone wants sprint weekend. Promoters push for this format, and now the drivers are interested as well. This is what irritates the phone fans. Promoters are pushing for it. I understand that the sport is susceptible to change because of its nature and the many new investors coming in. But for you to literally accept every proposal that comes your way is just pure disrespect towards the drivers. I know for a fact that the drivers were very much against the increasing number of sprint races, especially when they were in the old format. But why they've changed that opinion is up to them or Domenicali to further elaborate. However, we are yet to see what racing will look like with manual override mode and whether the reverse grids would actually make sense to be implemented in phone. Although the sport is all about innovation and changes, such a move would have to be approved by the drivers first. So, it's not like it can be imposed by pure force, just because the promoters feel like they're in a superior position regarding this matter. The proposal of changes doesn't end here. According to Domenicali, the more racing sessions we get, the more boring the weekend becomes. The promoters and the fans want action, that's his word. So, he believes that the free practice sessions are something that bore them. But if it's not for the free practice sessions, how would the teams and the drivers set up their cars for the entire weekend? This situation does seem like it's getting a bit out of control. And when elaborating further about this particular change, Domenicali said, "Promoters and fans want action. And now that they've started to understand it's possible, our surveys show the vast majority of the audience wants the drivers to fight for a result. To put it bluntly, they are tired of free practice. That is an objective fact we can't ignore. We're seeing on many of our channels that highlights do very well. For those of us who grew up with the current format, everything is fine as is, but there's a large segment that only wants to see the key moments. Stefano wants to imply that changes in the overall picture of the sport could be implemented even when it comes to the main race event. Shorter races don't necessarily mean more sprint races, it could be a shortening of the actual races. I don't think this would be accepted like that because, at the very least, we need longer races and more strategies, not short races that would end with just a one stop. The FIA and Pirelli are trying to push the teams more towards the two-stop strategy, whereas Phone believes short races are the real deal. It's a conflict of interest here, but in the end, it looks like the winner is always the side with more money and more investment in Formula One, which is the promoters. With all this in mind, what do you think about Phone's new direction? And more importantly, do you think it's a proper one that we should be moving towards? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.